Senator Tester.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for having this hearing. It is an understatement to say it's truly unfortunate we even have to be here today. When you talk about burying our loved ones, it's a pretty basic act that has gone on since the beginning of mankind. When you talk about burying our war heroes and the people who served this country so well in a place like Arlington National Cemetery, I can just tell you from my perspective, this is not only totally unacceptable, it is a black eye that, quite frankly, needs to be dealt with in a way and make things right as soon as possible. Whether it is a lack of information technology, whether it's a lack of contracting oversight, I hope we get some insight into that today. But what's happened here in a very basic ceremony, and I'm going to be interested to hear what the excuses are because I can't figure it out in my head. This isn't like putting a man on the moon. There's nothing really mystifying about burying our loved ones and keeping track of them and making sure that the ones are in the grave that are supposed to be there. You are saying that what you're saying is that what the IG found was there were errors on a set of working maps, but there were another set of maps that were right.
No, sir, that's not what I said.
So what you're saying is that there were errors on a set of working maps and that the other set of maps was incorrect.
The working maps, when it was brought to our attention that these maps were not accurately posted, we went out and did the field survey of the sections that were brought to our attention, and we corrected those maps, reposted on the permanent set, which is another set of maps that is kept in a different location in the cemetery, and then sent working copies out to all the divisions within the cemetery.
The permanent maps were correct, is what you were saying?
Not until we corrected them.
Okay, so what you're saying is the IG report was correct. If the permanent maps were incorrect and the working maps were incorrect,
the maps were...
Show me one that was correct.
The maps that are there today are correct.
Okay, but the maps that the IG looked at were incorrect.
That is correct.
And how did you fix those maps so that you know that they're correct today?
We went out to each section and did a field survey, checking grave by grave by grave. And where we found that the map was posted as someone was there, supposed to be buried there, and there was no headstone there, then we would go back and check the grave card. The grave card is a numerical card, so if you go to one of the sections in the cemetery, you'll find grave cards starting with number 1.
So, okay.
Going to the end, we found no grave card. Then we would probe the grave to see if there were any remains in the grave. If there were no remains in the grave, then we would realize that the map was posted incorrectly.
Okay. If there were remains in the grave, what did you use to know whose remains they were?
We would look at the site and go back to the cards to find the grave card that correlated to that site.
Okay.
And then we'd go back to the record of interment, which is the alphabetical listing, and then we would find out if there.
Okay, let's go the other direction. Joe Soldier was supposed to be buried in that, and you go down and there's nothing there. Where's Joe Soldier at now? I don't understand. I mean, you can probe and see if the remains are there and say, yeah, that's right, and go back to the grave card. What happens the other direction?
I know of no incident, sir, where we can't find a set of remains.
Okay, so you know where everybody is.
If you give me a name, I can go out there and find the location.
And you're sure of whoever's buried in that grave is who's buried in that grave, even though you got some maps that are right and some maps that are wrong. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be critical here, but I'm trying to be obvious. How do you know which set of maps are right if you got one set that's wrong and one set that's right? How do you know this set's right and that set's wrong, or that set's wrong and this set's right?
Each time we post a set of maps, we put a date on that map as to when it was posted. The maps are only as accurate as the last date on that map, and that from that point forward, the map becomes a working map.
And if that last date is incorrect, then that map is inaccurate and everything's screwed up. I don't know how you can find the bodies once they're in the ground or once they're supposed to be in the ground and not in the ground. I don't know how you fix that mistake.